Welcome to our course. Welcome to our course that's got a nickname. I'd like to call it Corporate Communication Today. No more social media, no more 2.0. It's corporate or business communications today. I must admit that it's not easy for me to have this course. First point, you already recognized it. I'm not that perfect in English. But on the other side, what is even worse, I'm not able to meet you. And there are all those different forms of e learning and network learning that are like really impersonal and often kind of played. I don't have this lecture in a classroom setting, so I decided to try out different forms of transmitting my contents to you. And one thing that is very important for me is that you are also asked to contribute, because this is today, this is social media, this is 2.0, and we together, and I hope you join me, we together will try out how this new social media world works in corporate communications, but also in teach in teaching. Let's say it like this. You'll have to live with my short interruptions and mistakes. Good. Today we start with our very first lesson. You found all the details and the plans in our posters blog. And today we want to talk a little bit about kind of introduction about corporate communications itself. You find all the slides in the posters blog as well. And I'd ask you to just have a look at the slides, and I'll try to put them into this video. We'll learn this together. Okay, what is corporate communications about? In this second slide, or in this slide, you'll see corporate communications in traditional media. You find the typical media, you find TV sets, radio, and newspapers, and you see what happens in marketing the traditional way. You start a market research, you try to position your product, you work out a mostly funny or persuading message, and you try to convince people about how brilliant you are and how good your product is. A second stream in corporate communications is public relations, which mainly aims on understanding. And in your company, you fix a mission, you find out on different topics, you write press releases, and you hope that people out there, all the stakeholders, understand what you are doing and why you are doing this. Typical topics here are corporate social responsibility, your reputation, the way you deal with customers or all your employees, and so on. A third stream is called internal communications. All the corporate communications you need to let information and knowledge flow in your company, which aims at a kind of a company brain. You have things like knowledge management or innovation management. And in all these different topics, you try to find IC systems, information and communication systems, which make people contribute their knowledge and their ideas. You need incentives for this, and you hope that you will be able to keep your company running with all your joint knowledge with your company brain. On the next slides, you'll find a couple of examples for these corporate communication streams. In marketing and public relations, you try to attract people, to get their attention with the typical AIDA way, which is attention, interest, desire, action. You try to lead people to buy your products. You try to communicate quality, how good you are. You try to get a good reputation. You try to find people who want to work with you in recruiting. And maybe you start something like a complaint management if you think that your customers should contribute what they think about you and about your products. Internal communication, as I've said before, deals with innovation management, knowledge management, idea management, and it's meant to help you to become a learning organization, which means that you're getting better with all the experiences you make and with all the people who collect their knowledge and their bits and provide their good ideas. And on the other side, you try to have kind of a climate, kind of a company brain that leads to employees' satisfaction. Good. So far, so good. Corporate communication is important, as you've seen it. It makes you live in the markets, it makes you live with your resources. And now all these new media arise, as you've seen on the next slide. All these new media like Facebook, Wikipedia, YouTube, blogs, Twitter, and so on, they arise, they come up. And everybody tries to tell you in your company that it is like really important to use this new set of media for your communications, for your marketing, for your public relations, and for your internal communications. And lots of people think that there are massive chances lying in these social media. But you have to be careful. And this is a quote that I like quite well. It's from Jill Scott. It's from the 70s, and you probably know what the 70s, yeah, you probably don't know as you are young. You probably know what the 70s were. The quote is, "The revolution will not be televised." Jill Scott wanted to wanted to explain that all these mass media don't that he's not content with the mass media life. That mass media life doesn't lead to revolutions, doesn't make you get forward. And this quote is true for us in two meanings, in two perspectives. One thing is that social media, seen as a revolution, this is what we think, will not be televised. Social media is something completely different from our old mass media. You can't take the same processes, the same lies and ways of communication with social media because, and this is the second aspect, because the revolution comes from everybody and everybody can contribute, and you don't have the one-way flow of communication, and this makes mass media communication completely different from social media communication. And moreover, Jill Scott was um, criticism of society. Moreover, these social media also lead to a different society. This is what we think. They lead to something that we can call a Web society, a Webgesellschaft in German. And this Web society will work completely different from the mass media society. What do I want to say with all this? I want to say that corporate communications using social media are corporate communications in a web society. And this is what we have to deal with. We cannot just take the normal marketing processes and have something like marketing 2.0. We can't take the traditional public relationship processes and say, okay, we just take Facebook for our press releases. This doesn't work. And in the company, we have to think differently as well. And this is what we want to experience in our course. We want to look at different aspects of corporate communications today. And today we have a first look on social media, a very short look, and then your first deliverable starts, your first task will start. In our second course module, we deal with what is called cooperation, maybe even collaboration in English. You may ask yourself why we will talk about collaboration or cooperation. Let me tell you this in advance. We think that this web society will be a collaborative or cooperative web society, and that social media means cooperation. In our third course module, we'll look at marketing, but as you see it's not the same marketing. It's got these little, what are these marks called? I don't know. These little marks. It will not be the normal marketing, but we look at it, marketing with social media. In a fourth course module, we'll deal with innovation. In the fifth, with knowledge in the company. And then in the end, we'll have a look at what may happen in a web society. All of this we'll do together. Today we only start with a short introduction in social media, a short introduction into social media. Then you'll work on social media a little bit. In the second course module, we look at cooperation, and then you'll work on cooperation. And in the following course modules, I picked a couple of topics that may be discussed converse, how do you call it? Which you can see from different perspectives. And I'll ask you to argue critically and to discuss this. And in our very last course module, or in one of our last course modules, we will try to work on this social media marketing thing for our university. Well, let's start with social media. I provide you with some definitions. I must admit they are from Wikipedia, but why not? This is a web society. This is web teaching. This is web talking about social media, and so we use Wikipedia. Web 2.0 is a term coined in 1999 to describe websites that use technology beyond the static pages of earlier websites. This is new. The technology is new. A Web 2.0 site may allow users to interact and collaborate, here you are, with each other in a social media dialogue as creators of user-generated content. They contribute their own content in a virtual community, important community, in contrast to websites where people are limited to the passive viewing of the content. You see, it's technology, but it's much more than this. Something like interaction, collaboration, creating, co-creating, contributing. This community leads to social media, allowed to create and exchange user-generated content. Social media are social software, again technology, which mediate human communication. And when the technologies are in place, basis, technology, social media is everywhere accessible, and it enables scalable communication techniques. Well, we'll talk about this later. We start with the technology. What is special about the technology? But you've already recognized that there's much more than technology in Web 2.0 and in social media. You see it with a little "and" at the bottom of the page. We have networks. Yeah, technology is really boring, and this is why all the students of informatics and all the informatics, say 5 years ago, always told me, what's new with your Web 2.0? This is a absolutely normal development of technologies. There's nothing new. And I always thought, well, there is something new. And this is because technology is only the basis and social media lies on top of the technology, and what really happens in social media is on top of the technology. We have broadband connections which are available everywhere. I don't say this U word again, ubiquitously. I can say it ubiquitously. Accessible, everywhere available. Data is collected in the web. The web is the platform. This is what we call clouds, cloud computing. I think this is really amazing that we get used to store our data in clouds, but the definite advantage of this is that also your data is available everywhere, and you can get it from everywhere and in every time. Programs, you have a huge amount of new possibilities, like push messages. You remember the old times when you always had to pull messages. Now they push. You have easy interfaces for web services. You can connect different services and different programs quite easily. You can exchange data between different services and programs. And you also have combined applications which are local and on the other side web-based, so that you have the speed, but you also have the connection to your data, and you are very flexible, and this shows up in the services. They are multimedia because of broadband. They are interactive. They are intuitively usable, which is new. Maybe you still know the former interfaces where you had this blue screen and you had to type in messages you didn't even understand yourself, which you had to learn by heart. Especially when you were German, you had to learn all the messages by heart. They're intuitively usable, the new systems. They are flexible and they are human. Whereas on these static pages of earlier website, you always had the feeling that you are connecting to databases, that you are, well, talking to databases. In this new social media life, you always have an author, a human being behind all the information you retrieve. And and what is on top of this technologies, just take the next slide. What is on top of this technologies is horrible. It's a crime scene Facebook, as our big and serious newspaper Bild has titled just a few weeks ago. Crime scene Facebook. Once again, the private address of a Facebook member was found out. It is very dangerous to leave your house and spread the message by Facebook, because thieves will be able to break into your private sphere. Children are mobbed in Facebook. There are big parties with thousands of people and disastrous results. The police has to protect people from Facebook. So many things can happen on the basis of this technology. But think about another crime scene, your cafeteria. If your cafeteria had not been invented as a place where people meet, where social relationships happen, and where you like eat all in calm, if it hadn't been invited before, you wouldn't dare to open a platform like a cafeteria, because think of what can happen there. In a normal university, for example, in a normal university, you have students who sometimes don't have the best relationship to their professors. They get bad grades and they meet there, and they can build groups. And there, on the other side, there are the professors, and imagine in the cafeteria there are knives. The technology is there for a crime scene cafeteria. Look at this technology. The fact is that this invention can and will produce forgetfulness in the souls of those who use it. They will not need to exercise their memories, calling things to mind no longer from within themselves but their own. Blah, this was wrong. They will not need to exercise their memories, calling things to mind no longer from within themselves by their own unaided powers, but under the stimulus of external marks that are alien to themselves. All from outside, all connected. And as for wisdom, it will be widely found without benefit of an instruction, everywhere. In consequence, people entertain the delusion that they have wide knowledge, while they are, in fact, for the most part, incapable of real judgment. This is what technology is. Or, no, to be honest, this is what writing is. A very first kind of new technology, and you see that all the dangers that you expect from a crime scene Facebook, from social media, were expected even then. In the cafeteria, in writing, in social media. This actually is because we have a kind of a typical development of technology, typical diffusion of technology, and together with this typical diffusion, like this typical skepticism at the beginning when a new technology starts, this normally leads to kind of a hype when you think that this technology will be able to use all your problems, then the kind of delusion when you find out that this doesn't work, and then you come to kind of a critical and rational employment of the technology. But let's stay on the side of the skepticism. There are typical standard situations of technology criticism. They were collected and distributed by Katrin Passig, who is a quite famous blog writer in Germany. And she has picked loads of examples where you can see that the problems people have with technologies, the dangers they see, always stay the same, and we are in kind of a evolution of social media, and we have to go through all of these standard situations. First, what the hell is it good for? You know this, you've probably faced this yourself. There are often all these new technologies where you think, well, I was able to live without this before. Why do I need this? Why do I need a mobile phone? I've got my telephone at home. Why do I need whatever, a baby phone? I just stay at home. And the next step is, who on earth will ever want something like that? Now you know what the thing, the gadget, is good for. You ask yourself, who on the earth will need this? The next step, and this was quite obvious, for example, with iPhones, is that there's only a privileged or a dodgy minority that will use that. Maybe people who are not that established in a society need something new, like private television, or someone who's got the money and doesn't know what to do with it needs the iPhone as a new, extremely expensive mobile phone. But I don't need it, but I don't know what it is good for, who who wants this. And there is someone who wants this, who's got it, but this is because he's like really rich and he has to show off that he is able to afford this luxury technical gadget. Fourth step, this is fashion. This will disappear faster than it came up. This is what most of the people thought would happen with social media. Say this what it was a typical fashion thing, because all these digital natives used it. All the young people were in StudiVZ, Facebook, and all these community. All the young people and companies used to say that this is like a big wave that they don't have to follow, because all these young fashionist people, they will stop this again. The problem is that we've thought this before, for example, in the music industry, um, where all the good old records were still in the stocks, and music industry was absolutely sure that all these digital music will disappear or can be eliminated via judges and laws and orders. But you see that it didn't really work, and I suspect that this is the same with social media. So, and if you've realized that it won't go away, the next step is that you say that this has no consequences on what I'm doing. This might be important for, well, about everybody else, but not for me, not for my company, not for my private life. Here, a nice little story is that Warner, of the Warner Brothers, once thought about films with sound, audio, audio movies, and he said that he doesn't see any worth in hearing actors speaking. He said that this has no consequences on his movies because there's no sense in hearing actors speaking. Well, then you have the phase of the hype, and you see that everyone is using, for example, social media or all the new technologies, and the hype normally leads to disillusion. And then the sixth step is I tried it, but it doesn't work properly, or but it is too expensive. It takes too much time to get involved in social media. We can't afford having people like Twitter in their office times. And on the other side, I already had this Facebook campaign and I didn't have any additional sales. It doesn't work. This is the delusion after kind of a hype that it might save your business, this new technology. The next step, this goes in kind of this rational usage of technologies, is that you become careful. We have to be careful now that this technology seems to find its place, like social media. It doesn't go away. There are people who use it. It is dangerous, not for me, because I'm able to use it, but for children or other like weak characters where I suspect that they will not be able to handle it. This is a phase we have right now, um, where we have all these contributions to how dangerous mobbing and Facebook and together with Facebook mobbing is for children. Maybe we'll discuss that um, later, because this also is not the problem of the technology, but on the society and the people who are dealing with the technology. 8, technology takes its place. There are people that act as if they cannot live without it anymore. I don't know whether you have your smartphone and whether you stay connected with your friends on Facebook, and whether you sometimes at the dining table take your smartphone because there's a new message, there's someone who's trying to tell you that he's like really close and wants to meet you, and this is normally seen as bad behavior. I don't know how this will evolve, because in the early times of books, like in the 18th century, it was a sign for bad breeding when you dared to read a book in a public park. Then it was a sign for bad breeding when you were going to a cafe or to a bar with your laptop. We can already live with these two uh, bad behaviors now. And well, this is a phase we are just in. It is like bad breeding when you officially admit that you are using the new technology, social media, in your life, that you have included it in your life, and that you like really need it now, that you have built your life around these new possibilities. The last point is the point we've already seen in the quote before. The new technology changes whatever we did without it before to the worse. It was reading, when videos, when movies started. It was calculating when you had these little calculating machines, these pocket calculators, this is the word. It was writing when you started to write on a computer, and now it's networking, memorizing, thinking about things, um, what is suspected to change to the worse because of social media. The point is that all these standard situations are well known. The only thing, well, the main thing with the new technology is something that you can call unlearning. In order to be able to think about a new technology without these standard situations of criticism, without these traditional and conventional criticism things, is that you unlearn, that you try to change your structures and to be open and flexible for the new technology. Because, and this is on the next slide, social media is not a computer game that might come with addiction or isolation. It is not television, it's not escapist and influencing, and it's not email, it's not information overflow on and unemotional, it's something else. It's something else. We have different forms of social media. We have social networks where you can network and build groups, contribute and follow activities. You know, it's Facebook, for example. You have Wikipedia, where you can contribute knowledge. You can work jointly on articles. You have blogs where you contribute your ideas and things you've recognized and invented in a timely order. You have Twitter, where you distribute short messages to friends. You have YouTube, where you publish videos, where you can search videos and broadcast them yourself. YouTube. And all these social media, they have special characteristics. In our next lesson, we will show whether they have common characteristics. But first of all, I'd like to ask you to pick one of these social media examples. Each of you is asked to pick one of these examples. We have to discuss who picks which in our chat. And I ask you to take kind of a godparentship for this medium, for example, for Facebook or for Wikipedia, and try to find out what the very special characteristics of your little Patenkind, what is it? You're the godparent of this child. What the characteristics of this child are, of this social media type are, what it is good for, what is good for it, what is working with it, and where you can need it, and for what it is like specially talented. Is it Facebook, where you can like make marketing campaigns? Is it a blog where you can collect knowledge? What are the special characteristics of your social media example. This is your first contribution, and well, you have to look at the plan. I think we wanted to talk about this in about 2 weeks' time, and and I'd like you to present this this characteristic, this where you are good godmother or godfather of your social media. You can present it like you want to, mainly maybe only with one slide, maybe with a short video, maybe with a short campaign, maybe with a couple of tweets. Maybe you build it with your building blocks with Lego. Just tell us what your social media type stands for and put it into the Posterous blog as well, and we will discuss this. Good. This is it. I hope you could understand me. We'll meet on Thursday, which is, I don't know, which is, I think, the 18th in the evening, but you find the information in the Posters blog for our first little chat, and there we'll come to know each other, talk about the whole course, about what we want from you, I want from you, about what maybe you want from me, and we'll discuss all the rest. Have a nice day. Thank you.